Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change all of a
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the season finale of PRL Season 12 Division 1. The championship points, they are close. Scarenzi and Rabin, 7 points between them. That's eRacing with, I think, the most outside of outside chances at the title. Still technically in it, with 34 points up for grabs and 33 behind the leader Scarenzi, but he will need a Christmas miracle to win the title here this evening. My name is Darragh, Thacker, joined by Joshua Griffin-Meek in the commentary box, and Josh, you know, it doesn't really get much closer than this, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. I mean, you know, asking for a Christmas miracle in May, you know, we've seen crazier things, haven't we? But you do mention it is looking very unlikely, but at the same time, it is sim racing. Anything can happen. We've got a fair amount of absentees here today, as we'll shift it over to the gameplay, so we can have a look at Craggy's already out on circuit. Now, you know, we mentioned standings not necessarily looking in favour of some drivers, but we do have a fair amount not here, which can give a great opportunity to those who are slightly further out to really try and climb themselves up a little bit, just for a little bit of pride.
Yeah, absolutely so. But you know, you never know. I'm just being told that main drivers move up the scale if reserves score points. So we've got to keep that in mind this evening when we're thinking about the points system. And the results, of course, we still got 8 points for pole, 1 point for 8th in qualifying. We're going to have to see how this plays itself out, how it's going to impact what is needed in the race, because that's another element of making it exciting in terms of points in the race, isn't it? Because you never really know what the parameters are until we finish qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, just having that extra little boundary and that little extra wiggle room for, you know, the likes of Rabin and that sim race and try and close up the gap to Scarenzi, and Scarenzi knowing he's got that opportunity where if he wants to risk it a little bit more, he can go for more of a pointed setup, less of a balanced one, try and extract a little bit more lap time during the qualifying to really get himself dialed in, try and extract a couple extra hundredths around this lap, because at the end of the day, Darragh, I'm not being funny, it's Silverstone. It's the home of British motorsport. If you don't know Silverstone, where on earth have you been sleeping?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I've been to Silverstone before, I'm sure you have. I cannot imagine you haven't been, Josh. and I went, and one of my fun activities I did at the track was throw stones at an empty beer bottle. But I'm not doing any of that today because honestly, it was far much more fun than it sounds. I didn't have the beer bottle. We found the beer bottle, I'd like to clarify. But yeah, it was great fun. But yeah, so it's Silverstone. It's a great British circuit. It's a fantastic track to go racing at. You always get action. I did a commentary around this circuit less than an hour ago, so I've got myself used to the corners once again. But Craggy's middle sector split, I'll tell you, it was a very, very quick league. Middle sector, we were looking at 101.6s, and Craggy's about a second off that through the middle sector.
Yeah, and, you know, it can be very much one of those sort of scenarios, and I'm sure you would have saw it slightly earlier today with how the momentum can build around Silverstone. You can't exactly just chuck it in straight at the deep end and expect it to stick and just be able to pull off a one-lap window. You very much have to slowly start building yourself, adjusting yourself towards the scenario, especially with corners like Village and the Loop, which are, you know, implemented in this not new anymore, Sector 1, as I was very rudely reminded of when it was constructed a couple weeks ago, which I'm still not very happy about, because to me, it's still new. But it takes a little bit of time to get those tyres into a working condition, to be able to get the traction down, to be able to really try and ace your lap. Not only that, track evolution. All of them somewhat add together to be able to build a phenomenal lap time around here. So we see Craggy's 1:26.2, but we know that's just going to get quicker and quicker as this qualifying session goes on.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It very much is. Now, I've just asked as well, just to clarify. Oh, that is not the line Rapid Connor's going for. I think he's tried the esports line to an extreme. I've just seen an improvement there for Oliver James, putting himself up into P2. First time on the board for him. So I've just seen that the reserve drivers will not pick up points. We have 3 of them here this evening, which technically means that if you finish and you're a full-time driver, of which there are 9, you'll pick up 2 points. So there's that other element, which I think therefore technically means that Sim Race is out of championship contention if the others finish the race, which is unfortunate because he's here, but you know, that's just how the cookie grumbles sometimes. The Bowyer middle sector split a little bit down on what Craggy did, 2.8 through there.
Yeah, I mean, you say if they finish, we know Silverstone can certainly have a couple crucial corners as Steve Bowyer decides to try and show us one, heading up through Stowe, invalidating his lap time. Again, critical corners. We know action can happen, we know contact can happen, and we also know track limits can very much play a part, not only during the qualifying and validating the lap time as Deboyu shows us, but also throughout the course of a race. They can slowly start stockpiling up. All it takes is a couple extra mistakes here and there. I mean, take one of an example, especially around Woodcut there. If you take that inside curb a little bit too much, if you try and cut too much of a circuit, you will get a warning for it. And realistically, you're gaining no time whatsoever. If anything, you're losing more time because you're scraping the speed off a car by turning the front wheels a little bit too much. It causes a little bit too much friction. But the game's a game, and sometimes you just gotta play by the game's rules.
Yeah, and that's really just what you got to adapt to. I mean, it's been a long season, it's been a long game. Full credit to the guys that have turned up here this evening because it's fair to say I think that the game cycle has petered out a little bit as we've moved on towards F1 24. So full credit for everyone for still turning up in the last month of the game. Scorenzi though, championship leader coming into this race, can really put a big hand on the title if he gets pole here. Only P3 though. So it's not the best, but of course, as we know, you know, reserves results get voided, as AJ Mackey 26-1. Reserve results get voided, so he'll obviously move up in terms of the points, but you don't really want to start from P4 in a championship decider.
No, I mean, it's not exactly ideal. The more concerning part, I would have to say, for Scorenzi there, Oliver James doing his lap time on the medium compound tyre, and he was able to beat him. That is definitely a cause for concern, to say the very least here. I mean, you know, you're looking at a time delta of probably about 4 or 5 tenths per lap between the different tyre compounds. If Oliver James was able to hook up a very similar lap to what he did on the mediums, just transferring it over to the soft compound tyre, he could very easily find himself in what could have been provisional pole before that sim race decides to go and set himself a stonking lap time of a 1:25.7.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he needs, of course. Looking difficult to win the title from here, you'd have to say. Despite the fact I believe it is impossible, unless Scorenzi retires. But what he needs to do is get pole. That we know for sure. There's the 3 reserves in this race, and we'll list them now. Nanda 25 in the Aston Martin, Vintage AR5 in the Haas, I will double check this to make sure I'm right. And also, Craggies in the Red Bull are reserve drivers, so they will not pick up points for their position. So we've got to keep that in mind when it comes to the maths. And I think, Josh, we're going to do quite a lot of maths in this race.
Yeah, I'm not very much looking forward to it. Last week I sat my last exam for university, doing analytics and all that shaz. But I thought that was it. I don't have to do any more maths in any regard. And then you come out and you're like, okay, so Josh, if so-and-so finishes so-and-so, he's got to get so-and-so to DNF or finish below so-and-so. My hopes and dreams came crashing down. I'm opening up the Excel spreadsheet as we talk, Darragh. Why have you done this to me?
Which Excel spreadsheet? I have to say, I was trying to find someone's name.
It's the blank one, so I can start typing all the data in.
At least you finished its course. There's always a silver lining.
Very true. Very true.
I am just double checking because the car in the Aston Martin, which is Nanda. No, Nanda is a reserve. Yes, he's reserve. Okay, I am right. There are 3 reserve drivers and 9 full-time drivers. Got it all settled. I'm happy now, and I'm happy that I can do some maths. Can't wait. I love maths.
And speaking of maths, Paco is showing us how to subtract away from that sim racer's pole time by almost, slightly over an entire tenth. And yes, that's the level of puns we're going to. Come on, season finale for Tier 1. We've got to make the puns terrible. Surely. But, phenomenal lap time, 1:25.598. Real question is, how much more of the other drivers around him are going to be able to try and whittle it down by any amount possible? That's what I'm going to be interested in. That's what I'm going to be very keen to somewhat see. Especially with the likes of Oliver James going out, now presumably on a set of soft compound tyres, instead of that medium tyre he loves so dearly.
Yeah, let's see what he can do on that tyre. Try and progress his way forward in this championship. I've been looking down, I've been working out that we could still really have position changes most of the way in the midfield, really. That's what I'm looking at. Rapid Connor is a driver that we might see bump himself up the order during this race. Haas, realistically, have this championship battle for the constructors wrapped up with a bow on top. So they look pretty good for that. McLaren have been really struggling, likely to come home P9, but they could really put some points on the board here with Rapid Connor and Oliver James looking relatively strong for now. Craggy starting a lap time, 7 minutes to go, and we still haven't seen Rabin yet. He's still sitting in the pit lane.
He's lurking, isn't he? He's very much like a crocodile. More than happy to sit at the bottom of the riverbed, wait until, I don't know, a Rapid Connor, that sim racer starts rocking up, and then all of a sudden he's going to strike, he's going to be able to pull a lap time out and really try and capitalise on the mistakes of others. But around a track like Silverstone, you've got to think these drivers religiously know this circuit, inside and out, like the back of their hand. Of course, the new game has been announced that they're going to do some changes around this circuit to try and make the elevation change of 11 metres a bit more prominent in the game. But to be quite honest with you, I feel like it's one of the less tracks they need to really worry about updating because everyone knows it so well. Everyone's got so used to it. They feel everything on the circuit. The bumps, the little, notches in the curbs, the little hindrance, the little pothole, as I like to call it, up in towards turn 15, as we're going to see Crackies approaching it now at a rapid rate of knots. But it's all these different little intricacies around the circuit that all the drivers will have been able to pick up on over their practice and over their laps, where they're going to be able to try and dial it in to the best of their abilities. But Craggy's calling it back in for pit lane. Not entirely happy with his run there, but opens a door of opportunity for the other drivers around him to really try and cook something up. And Scorenzi are looking to be one of those drivers.
Yes, Scorenzi, he needs to improve on that time. I don't think that's something that's very controversial to say because, at 26.8, he needs to be really, putting at least a second and a half into that time, I think, to take pole position here with Paco up there. That's him racer lurking around as well. First sector split could tell us quite a bit. What's it going to say to us? And it's only a tenth and a half. Maybe expected a little bit more, but you can gain quite a lot in this middle sector, especially through Maggers and Beckett's if you've made a little bit of a mistake on your opening lap.
Yeah, surely, he must have made a mistake in Sector 2. That's the only reason I could think he would have set a 26.8 is if he's had a bit of a slide, bit of a wobble, maybe the car had a bit of needed a bit more correction to really be able to get the car darted into whether, you know, it might be the likes of cops and might be, especially through Chapel as well, if the car doesn't necessarily want to stick, it could be very awkward, it could be very twitchy. But Scrooge seems to have navigated that one okay. But still, only a 3/10 improvement. Is this going to be cause for concern for Scorenzi's championship hopes here?
Hopefully not. If you're in his camp, Rapid Connor's gone fastest with a 25.573. Maybe Scorenzi had a mare of final sector. Through the final couple of corners, Scorenzi will run up to the line. Can he put a big chunk into it? Half a second of improvement, it's okay, but E6 is maybe not where we expect to see him. I will say, actually, that earlier on that someone did say, someone said that someone had a mare, and then replied to me with, yeah, it's what you find if you look up Western Super in the dictionary, and I have to be honest, one of my favourite lines of all time.
Oh dear. Is that the level we're going to?
I thought it was
Western
great.
Super, is that really the level we're going to? Oh dear.
I've never been to Western Supermare, to be fair.
Don't stay away, mate. It's very much not worth it. Even little 8-year-old Josh went there and thought, well, this is crud. Not a fan of this place. But someone who might
If
be.
anybody is from Western Supermare, we don't intend any kind of harm.
No, but we don't intend to
all the
apologise
best
at
in
all.
the area.
You live in an absolute dump. Move. But on a more serious note, Raven, out on track here. Currently P11, looking to claw away and be able to stick his ice pick somewhere in between these beautiful ice blocks he finds himself around on the timing sheet. If you're Raven, where are you going to try and stick your pick?
I mean, you've just got to keep yourself tight, don't you, really, all the way through the lap to the lines, because you cannot afford to drift away from a lot of the racing lines here at Silverstone. It's difficult to really drag your lap back to you if you lose a few tenths in the first sector, but very nice and tidy as he makes his way through Cop's Corner. Through Maggots Beckett's now, some of the scariest corners, especially from the pad, on the game, because one little mistake, one little late shift of direction, you are going to find yourself in a world of pain. 1 at 1.9 is a very, very quick middle sector. This could be right up near the front, if not very comfortably. Taking provisional pole through Stowe and diving back down the hill from the crest that we reach through Stowe Corner into Vale, then in towards Club. What can Raven do? Surely this could be good enough for a provisional pole position. Round the final corner. Is it going to be a 24?
Animal.
Yes, it is. 24.9.
What a... honestly. Where do they find drivers like Raven? Where?
I don't know.
What's he had for breakfast? Where... honestly, what a... joke of a lap time from Raven. 6 tenths clear of the field. It's something we should just get expected to at this point in Tier 1, no?
Exactly, but this is the thing. So Raben 24.9, that's an incredible lap time. I've seen a 24.4 around here today already. So, but I don't know how you're going to find 5 tenths of your Raben. I just don't know how. It's an incredible lap time as it is. At 1 minute 24, will comfortably surely get him onto the front row. Nanda, not looking the best for him. 2.9, more than a second off Raben through the middle sector alone. And he's looking at maybe P8, P9 if he's lucky. Craggy's improves to P5, but we're just waiting for a couple more times on the board, and then we've got everyone with their best lap around Silverstone on the timing tower.
It's terrifying thought, isn't it? Especially when you've got a 24.9 sitting over you as Nando's moved himself up into P8. All eyes should be now diverted over to Deboya, 93 in the Alpine car. You can see him navigating his way beautifully through the Vale chicane, getting on the power as soon as possible, revving out the engine as much as he can, and again jumping himself up into P9. Might not be the optimal jump he was looking for, but you've got to consider it's still something on the board. It's still a lap time to be at least decently respected, and there's always an opportunity to move forward, especially during these races.
Yeah, let's see, really, how far forward a few of these drivers can get with their qualifying times. Timer has ticked down to under 30 seconds, which basically means that, you know, if you're not coming through Stowe now, then that is your session done. That sim racer is just about to come to the Vale chicane. I think he might just about get his lap time started. But I think Oh, is that Scarenzi? I'd hope for Scarenzi's sake that that's him in front. Let's see. Yes, that is Scarenzi. That's the racer just starting the lap time, as the timer will hit 0 now. Rabin is done. It means that times are going to be flowing in, Josh, and the first times are going to be from, I believe, Vintage, but he can only stay P12.
Yep, next on the sheet for a competitive looking time here will be the likes of AJ Mackey, and also the Aston Martin of Nanda stayed out, decided to go and get himself another lap on the board. I don't feel like it's going to be too competitive. He might just be able to try and wiggle himself slightly further forward, but only P8 for him. Next across the line, AJ Mackey, 1.5 tenths up on his lap time. You can see him now approaching into the Vale chicane, with D. Bowyer in the Alpine directly behind D. Bowyer, darting it into the pits though, as AJ Mackey goes through the double right-hander all the way across the line, up into P5. Brilliant stuff. And then we've got the McLaren duo of Rapid Connor, and slightly in front of him, Oliver James. Surely Oliver's looking for an improvement, but with a huge slide like that, he's not going to be able to find one at all. But has he given Rapid Connor enough of a toe for Connor to really be able to try and push it a little bit harder up towards Rabin's lap time? Again, 6/10 difference between them, but only a slight improvement there for Rapid Connor. Rabin finishing his lap as well. We've got a couple more drivers yet to finish. Paco across the line. Improvement up into P2. That sim race diving it back into the pits. That will be the qualifying session with Rabin taking pole in a, I don't know how to say this gently, Darragh, a demanding way?
Scary,
authoritative? Terrifying?
Yeah, I think terrifying really is the term. I mean, here are the results. 3/10 ahead of Paco. But really, it's about the points. Paco's going to pick up 7, of course, coming home in P2. Rapid Connor is going to pick up 6, as I'm doing maths on the fly. 5 for that sim racer. He is, sadly for him, out of title contention now officially. AJ Mackey, 876 5. 4 for AJ Mackey. Not 3 for Craggies, but it's going to be 3 for Tintoretto, and then it's going to be 2 for Scarenzi, and it's then going to be 1 point for D. Bowyer. Now, what all of that means, Josh, and I can only chuckle, is that coming into the final race of the season, Scarenzi still leads the championship on exactly 200 points. Rabin has 199.
So what you're telling me, whoever finishes it in front on circuit is going to be champion between those two.
I'm also going to work out the count back quickly as well. That's going to come into play between Scarenzi and Rabin. Oh, what's happened? Lordy.
No. Okay.
Question.
Right.
Big question mark. Has Scarenzi gone for a wet setup, compromised his dry pace, and maybe going to go for it in the race?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time we saw Scarenzi go and pull the strings to the game and be able to pull off a masterpiece in strategy, starting it right from the setup. But again, you've just got to consider maybe it might just not be his track. Surely, if you're Rabin, you're sitting there thinking, okay, surely Scarenzi isn't fairly confident. He would have just finished 8th, but you never know. If he's got a wet setup and he sees this rain coming, game's on. Opportunities, they're all his now. Surely he'll be sifting his way through the field, especially coming out of the heavy traction zones, which could be so awkward and so technical in the wet.
Yeah, they could be. I am hoping that this stat that I'm coming up with in my head holds true, because it could be a fantastic stat if it does hold. Rabin picked up a P2 in Abu Dhabi. Scarenzi didn't finish on the podium. When we get to round 7 at Saudi Arabia, Paco won again, but Rabin came second. Oh, it's not held up. And Scarenzi finished 3rd. At Qatar, Rabin wins. Scarenzi 2nd. And in Belgium, Scarenzi 2nd, Rabin 3rd. Now, it doesn't get better than this. It just doesn't. Permutations.
Right.
Josh. Nearly called you Josh, you were there. I don't know why. Scarenzi, 2 wins. Rabin, 2 wins.
Oh, dear.
Scarenzi, 3 seconds. Raben, 2 seconds. Scarenzi, 1/3. Raben, 2/3. I don't mean to sound facetious here. Of course, if you finish in a position, if you finish in... They can't finish in a podium position and be tied on points, because, of course, the points gaps are too big. They basically have to finish... Well, actually, they can't. This is the point. We don't have to worry about comeback. What am I talking about? What am I talking about, Josh? Because there's only 9 drivers that can score in this race, in terms of the championship, which means that the minimum that anyone's going to get is 2, and then it goes 4, 8, 12, which physically means whoever finishes ahead out of Raben and Scarenzi is the title winner. No if, no buts, no maybes. Whoever finishes first, or ahead of the other one, wins the title. Incredible.
And you've got to say at this moment in time, the ball is fully in Raben's court. Whether he's going to decide to try and dribble it out, try and get another couple points on the board, or whether he's going to somewhat try and hold it back a little bit, keep possession, not look to try and, force anything too much, not try and push the car too hard, just hold on to his lead. I mean, if you're in Raben's scenario, what do? You've clearly shown you got the pace in the drawing qualifying. All of a sudden, rain comes along, you're slapping on some juicy grooved wet tyres. Do you still have the confidence you originally had? It's going to be very interesting to see, especially getting off the line here around Silverstone. Darragh, I'm not sure what to expect.
Neither am I.
I just... Someone hold me, please. This is... I'm nervous for her.
Right, here we go then. I'll hold you at the end of the race if I can get there in time with my microphone. Let's see. 26 laps between us and the end of the season, the end of the game in Tier 1 in PRL. It's Season 12, it's the finale. Quick reminder, Raben versus Scarenzi. Whoever finishes ahead on track is your champion. The lights are on, and we are racing for the finale at Silverstone. That's him. Who's that? That's
Thacker.
Paco not getting away from the line. I think he's doing a last to first again. Scarenzi's going to take the position, but he's got to be careful. He cannot afford a big mistake in the opening corners here. He might be able to slip past here on rapid corner. Big mistake. Scarenzi up to 4th, but Raben, important for him to get away at the front and try and stretch his legs and stretch that lead to give Scarenzi no hope of taking this title.
Absolutely, but then at the same time, you've got to consider if he decides to stretch it a little bit too much, tries to put a little bit too much pace through those tyres, tries to get it working in an operating window that they're not quite ready for, that's when the mistakes start creeping in. That's where he's going to be losing that little bit of extra time. But you can already see the amount of grip Scarenzi has, sticking it around the outside of the field on AJ Mackey. You must consider he's got a wet setup on, and he might have played this one to an absolute peach, jumping himself up into P3, with barely a second separating him and the championship protagonist of Raben leading the way. But we know that Sim Racer is always down for a battle. He's always down for a challenge. Could this be one of his biggest ones yet? Could he have a deciding say in the championship here?
I mean, we can't forget championship, obviously. I mean, he's going to finish 3rd in this championship, whatever happens. He'd love to finish on a win. He'd love to be there on a high. But you never do know. You never do know, do you? So we've got to keep tabs, really, with everything that is going on. On lap 1 of 26, Scarenzi's done what he needed to do to get up into P3, but Raben still leads this race. The winner likely to get well over 215 points in a 10-race season. Incredible consistency, incredible work from them. But it all comes down to this, and I really think we're going to have to be waiting to the end of this race, because I can't see them splitting themselves apart too much here, Josh.
No, I feel like this is definitely going to be a race more of concentration, getting in the zone, staying in the zone, which is going to be oh so crucial for these drivers. They understand exactly what is required of them. Scarenzi knows he's just got to keep it on circuit, he's got to take his time, he's got to pace himself properly, and he's got to make sure that he's going to capitalise on the most out of these opportunities. As we do have a VSC being deployed there for Oliver James. So, is this going to throw any sort of spanner in the works? Is it going to benefit Scarenzi? Is it going to be a hindrance to him? Will it give Raben a great launch to try and build a little bit of a gap to avoid that slipstream? There's so many questions, so many directions this race can go, and I'm here for it. Let's get this VSC out of the way. Let's let him race.
That Oliver James retirement means that Lyrian has now confirmed himself to finish 15th in the championship, and Oliver James will finish 16th. So I have to just make sure I got that one right. But they are going to finish 15th and 16th in the championship. Top 14 positions still uncertain. Of course, a couple of drivers secured in where they are. The likes of Eric will finish 5th. Paco will finish 4th. Simracer that will finish 3rd. But a lot of the midfield there is not quite done yet. And this virtual safety car still out. I thought it was going to come in there for a second, but that Simracer's ready to pounce, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be. He's got to try and make the most of this opportunity. The last thing he's going to want to do is cause any sort of contact between the two drivers he's surrounded by. So, ideal scenario for him, he's able to give a jump on Rabin, he's able to pull away a little bit, he's no longer interfering in the championship battle, and that's exactly what he's going to be looking to do here. You can see he's got a better traction heading down into the Vale chicane, but it's just not long enough for him to really be able to try and make an overtaking opportunity, especially in the wet. Limited grip off the racing line, and even worse grip on the racing line for a couple of these corners, given the oil starting to resurface from the track. But that's not going to stop that Simracer by sticking his nose down at the inside of Abbey, but he's just had to back out there. He's having to wait his time, looking for an overtaking opportunity towards Village, but you can already see how tedious that Mercedes car is. It's sliding about the place on corner entry, let alone trying to get on the power and try and get the exit down. So we do see Nanda having a little instant towards the back, a little friendly spin. I'm sure it won't distract him too much from his race. He's just got to keep his head down and hope for the best.
He does. But, you know, Haas, I think, again, please don't quote me, but I almost am certain, are confirmed as our Constructors' champions in Tier 1. Alfa Romeo not fielding 2 drivers, and they weren't close enough during qualifying to make it a competition, really. So Haas are your Season 12 PRL Div 1 Constructors champions. Nice little trophy, but Scorenzi will hope to make it Constructors and Drivers if he can take home the championship. Paco overtaking AJ Mackie, who nearly spears himself into that wall on the inside, which is ironically exactly where I was throwing those stones at the bottle. But up at the top 3, Scorenzi looking squirrely, but he's looking fast. He's looking to try and get through on that sim racer. You can see, I think Scorenzi's got a little bit more downforce on that car because he's losing time down the straight, but gaining it back in the corners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw that sim racer as well, having a little bit of a squirm, showing these drivers up at the front, they're more than happy to try and push the limits of what their cars are really available to do. And of course, you got to think, out of these 3 drivers, the one who needs to risk it the absolute least is that sim racer. Regardless of where he finishes, he's staying P3 in the championship. He's just up there for a little bit of fun, a little bit of competitive gameplay, trying to close up, trying to catch, trying to somewhat disrupt a little bit of a championship. And Rabin as well, not necessarily feeling too much more pressure, as he is the one who's currently in a position to walk away with the Drivers' Championship. Does that add more pressure to Scorenzi, thinking that he's not only got to somewhat try and beat his championship rival on track, but he's also got this sort of disruptor, this little bit of a nuisance in between himself and his championship rival of that sim racer?
Yeah, absolutely so. But this really does look tight. I mean, we can see these guys. It's a shame that sim racer wasn't able to be in this championship battle, because could you imagine we have these 3 fighting over the championship? First, second, and third. It'd be absolutely insane. But we actually do have the top 4 in the championship in the top 4. AJ Mackie can't find his way any higher than 6th this evening in the championship, even though he's in P5. But the top 4 are here tonight, and they're running in those positions on track at the moment. And in these wet conditions, you'd expect to see the skill difference expand a little bit, because of course it is more difficult to control these cars. But here comes Scorenzi. He's got a good run here. He's using ERS. Can he hold it though? Because we know he doesn't have the straight line speed of that sim racer. But that sim racer not going to fight it into Stowe. And Scorenzi, there's nothing between himself and Rabin. It's a straight fight, Josh, for the title.
Yes, a very smart move there from that sim racer, knowing he's been struggling on the rears just a little bit. Decides to back away from that battle. Doesn't want to cause any sort of contact, any sort of conflict, which could potentially jeopardise Scorenzi's race for the title here. And now you can see the true pace of Scorenzi being unleashed. Already 4 attempts there. See Paco having a little look at the inside of that sim racer as well. But you've got to see right now, Scorenzi has so much pace in clear air in comparison to the likes of that sim racer and Rabin. Surely it's going to have to be a defensive masterclass for the next 21 laps here from Rabin if he wants to try and have any chance to win this championship title.
Yeah, it's really going to be a big one, isn't it? This race. I've been looking for... I genuinely have to be honest. I sat down on the settee on. I think it was Sunday night, and I thought, oh, PRL's got a title battle on Tuesday. And I thought, could be quite good. I didn't quite think it'd be this good. Raven with a mistake. Scarenzi, also a little bit of a mistake. There is 1/10 between two championship rivals. Whoever finishes ahead will be your champion. It couldn't be any better than this. It just couldn't. The only way this could be better if we, in 20 laps time, we're in this exact position, and I wouldn't put it past these drivers for that to happen.
You know, I thought for a moment we were going to have some critical corners heading into the comps. I'm not going to lie. I saw Scarenzi get the run and I thought, no, do not do it. Don't do it. He didn't do it. He's played his time. He's waited back onto the hanger straight. But, key part we've got to remember, no DRS for these drivers. If they're going to make an overtake, it's going to have to be a proper overtake. A real racer's overtake. Try to do something a little bit different. Going a different line, trying to get a little bit of a karting line, trying to get more water onto the tyres, trying to cool down the tyres, trying to find the excess grip on the circuit. And certainly something Scarenzi seems to be absolutely brilliant at is finding that extra level of grip, coming out of attraction zones, staying off the oil, and really being able to get his foot down just a little bit earlier. Don't know whether that's completely down to the grip on the surface, or whether it might just be his confidence extruding itself, as at the minute he looks like he is one of the drivers to beat in this race, because his pace has been unbelievable. But we still have a decent length of the Grand Prix left. I mean, you're looking at what? Basically just over a fifth of the way there, Darragh. It's going to be a long day for Raben to hold these drivers back.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. But we've got to remember as well, in Paco, he looks the fastest driver, you'd say at this stage. I mean,
yes.
he was last, he's flown his way back through. They can let him go up the road because he's not the battle. It doesn't matter. You know, because there's only 1 point between them, it doesn't matter like, oh, well, you know, Raben needs to beat Scarenzi by finishing first instead of second, because if he finishes second and third, he doesn't take the title. None of that. Absolutely none of that. It's quite literally, whoever finishes ahead wins. Let Paco go. Let him win the race. It doesn't matter. He's not the fight. He's not the battle. The battle is between Raben and Scarenzi. It's a straight shootout. Paco goes for a...
I found out why he's so quick.
Yeah, he's exploring, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just decided to turn the chapel into a church.
He's going to find himself... He's going to find himself on the A5 if he goes that too far on that way.
Oh, don't blame him. If he keeps going straight, pointing the direction he is heading down into the Vale chicane, he'll very easily find himself outside the Aston Martin garage, which could be a very interesting way to try and go about securing yourself a seat in Tier 1 next season. But certainly someone who seems to be trying to stake a claim to certainly the championship here in Tier 1. Scarenzi, all over the back of Raben, once again coming out of club. You've got to start considering he's going to have to start looking for a move sooner rather than later. He won't be able to rely on an overcut. He won't be able to rely on an undercut because of a wet weather basis. It'll come back, regardless of whichever way you want to do it, to a very equal, somewhat standing, stagnant point of this race. So if he wants this overtake, he's got to work for it. It's not going to be given to him. He won't just be able to battery dump for it. He's going to have to craft and find a way through Raben on a technical sense, not just a physical sense.
Yeah, now, one thing I want to talk about quickly is the fact that, you know, obviously, we've got weather. It's full wet conditions. Now, this comes into the strategy, or that my conversation is completely ruined. We've got a safety car. It might not be completely ruined. We can talk about this, but while the drivers go towards the pit lane. With the fact that there is rain, obviously, will the rain lighten off? Will it go to intermediate conditions? Or will it stay full wets? Regardless, they're all going to have to take pit stops because they're not going to get to the end on the one set of tyres. But when are they going to do that? That's the question. Will anybody come into the pit lane now?
Well, I'll tell you what. As long as you don't mind a cheeky little bit of a pause screen, I will do my absolute all. Because I can try and grab you guys a little bit about the weather. So, predicted weather. It's currently thunderstorm, and it will remain at this level. In fact, it'll increase over the next 15 minutes. But then in half an hour's time, it'll slowly start lightening up. Now, predicted full wet from now until the end of the race, according to the weatherman, the weather chart. Surely, with that being said, you go onto a set of wet tyres now, as we do see the front five doing it. Craggy's, Tintoretto, okay, everyone's doing it. Okay, everyone's been boring. I'm surprised we've not seen any soft tyres, because we know it's a feature of the game. Sees it being a little bit wet, you know, sees it being...
Oh, what, to accidentally
yeah,
go into a slip.
Yeah, where it forces you onto the
that's
side.
bold.
Oh dear, AJ. We've already got drivers skidding out all over the place on a wet compounded tyre. Surely that's not the brightest decision.
I mean, he'll go in towards Cops, and then he'll find himself in Milton Keynes. He just won't have the grip. He just will not have the grip. And yes, I did double check to make sure that if you go wide at that corner, that is the direction the Milton Keynes is in. I drove from near to Milton Keynes back home today.
Oh.
Did. I was weather was lovely. Been lovely this week, hasn't it?
It has been. It's been a lot better than what we're currently seeing out on circuit.
It's not better than this, yeah.
Yeah. As we see AJ Mackey having a little bit of a slide coming out of Aintree. I don't suppose that's going to be the first slide of his lap under the safety car, and I don't suppose it'll be his last one of the entire Grand Prix either. It is looking, to say the very least, a little bit dangerous out there for the intermediate tyres. I think this would be the part where if it was the FIA, they would force him back onto a set of wet tyres.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't Inters, is it?
No.
I think it's fair to say. He's going to be in a world of pain. One thing I've worked out while looking at the point system,
okay.
and done a little bit of counting up. No, don't listen to me. I've done it wrong. AJ Mackey's the one sitting in this race. Okay, well, I'll give you a slightly different fact, but it's still relevant. Tintoretto. Now, if Tintoretto, albeit he's on the intermediate, can pull off a win in this race, he would go from P14 in the championship, P8 in this championship. So, you know, there's that incentive because he can really jump up the order.
Yeah, you know, you sit there and you consider, you know, how much we've said consistency is key between all these drivers. We do see both the Williams drivers decide to dive it back into the pits, hopefully for a set of wet tyres, to try and secure themselves at least a finish in this race. But back to a point I was saying, we mentioned about how consistent they are. You know, week in, week out, they're always there or thereabouts. They're so reliable when it comes to scoring points, so reliable when it comes to finishing, and putting on a great performance. And I feel like the championship table is a prime example of that. You know, we talk about up at the front how we could potentially be looking at a 215-point gap for the championship, and not only does that say credibility towards the drivers towards the front of the field, but you look towards those midfield battles, as you mentioned, getting 6 places by being able to get yourself a race win on the last race of the season just goes to show how close they all are all throughout the grid. It's not just towards the front. There's a couple pockets here and there, but on the whole, it's a very competitive grid.
And that's what we love to see, isn't it, really? You know, really exactly, and particularly with the front guys. With those 4 that we see, Brabham, Guernsey, Packer, that's in Racer, you could turn up each week and any of them could win it. I mean, they are really, really quite close in terms of pace. And if they turned up each week, it might be a different story in terms of the championship picture. If Paco managed to convert at the start of the season, if you cast your mind back to Imola in Spain, I mean, he could have picked up at least another 30, 40 points there, and all of a sudden you're looking at him being in a more of a championship contention. So there's been those chances for all 4 of these drivers, and I think going into next season, season 13 in PRL, these guys are really looking like they can give us another great championship battle.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, where one driver falls, one of the other 3 ends up picking it up, don't they? And it's been very much all circles and roundabouts. Whenever Brabham's failed to deliver on race wins, it's either been Paco, Sim Racer, Scorenzi picking up the points. It's very much been vice versa between all the drivers. All of them seem to be able to profit from the other's mistake, and that's exactly what you want in a good rivalry. That's exactly what you want in a good championship, because it just increases the risk ever so much. We see Scorenzi doing his best Max Verstappen impression, trying to pull alongside Brabham. It's a good job we don't have the FIA here at PRL, otherwise he would be slapped back with probably a 25-second time penalty for even considering trying to go side-by-side in the safety car nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is looking like an interesting race, especially as we get this one back underway. Brabham will release us pretty early, not going to hang around for too long. and Scarenzi will follow in suit. Paco's in here. That sim race a little bit further back. Paco looking through at turn 1, looking to be bold and brave very early after this restart, and he picks off Scarenzi, and all of a sudden, Rabban's got a buffer.
Absolutely. Exactly what Rabban's going to be hoping for, and exactly what Paco was looking for as well. But you've got to consider, Paco, surely he's not going to be happy settling with just a P2. He's going to want to try and make a move on Rabban in the next couple of laps. He's shown he had the pace during the first stint. He was tremendous on that starting wet soft compound tyre. Surely with a little bit of fresher rubber, he'll be absolutely flying. As we do see that sim racer getting tagged there, coming up out of Aintree, losing almost every single one of his positions. In fact, he does. He's currently battling now for P8 with Vintage AR5. Unfortunate for that sim racer, but on a positive note, at least he's still P3 in the championship.
Yeah, there's always that silver lining, isn't there? Every cloud has the silver lining, and there are a fair few clouds around this circuit today. Lap 10 of 26 here at Silverstone. We've got a fair ways to go. Only 9 runners left, so those who do finish will be handsomely rewarded with some points. And we do hope that Rabban and Scarenzi do both make the finish. Unless we have a Senna Prost moment, because that would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It would certainly be an ending to the season, let's say, at the very least. But we do see Paco having a little sniff up the inside, up towards Stowe. But the real question is the camera angle going to be any nicer for us to be able to see the angle? It doesn't look like it, but Paco's tries to send it round the outside, forces Rabban the long way round, and you've got to give credit where credit is due to Rabban. He's not willing to let this one go. Considering Scarenzi's right at the back of them, and he knows if any sort of contact is made, that's his championship gone. He's more than happy to continue this battle, and Scarenzi's also going to be looking to try and send his Haas on an overtaking mission on the Alfa Romeo Sauber car. He's just trying to size him up, trying to get a better exit through loop and Aintree, and now he's just got to try and deploy a little bit of that battery as we see Paco making a move, shifting over to the left, back over to the right, doing everything he can to break the toe to Rabban. But again, Scarenzi not quite there to be able to try and make the most of that overtaking opportunity. And with the pace Paco's shown, do we feel like he could potentially pull away in the race here?
I think he will. I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised that Rabban fought that one for as long as he did, because I just think that Paco has the pace here. Oh, maybe not. He's gone very wide at Woodcut. He's nearly gone to Toaster. See, I've got that one. But Rabban and Scarenzi are in tow. No, I really didn't mean that pun. Please don't hurt me. But with Rabban and Scarenzi here, Paco is allowed to go away. I can't see why Rabban would fight so hard with Paco, especially when it just doesn't matter. As long as he keeps Scarenzi behind, it doesn't matter how far Paco is, where Paco is. If he fights with Paco, we saw it there. Scarenzi had a bit of a go. He had a bit of a look up the inside, and it just opens the door and opens the possibilities for Scarenzi to try and sneak this title. Because as it stands, Rabban's winning the title. He's got this one in his back pocket. It's his to lose. I don't know why he would, throw a move that might make him lose it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's maybe him having second doubts on his own defensive ability, and he just wants another car in between. That could be probably the leading reason why he's trying to defend Paco so hard. It's just because he wants that little bit of a buffer between himself and Scarenzi, fearing perhaps a little bit of a late lunge from Scarenzi could cause a little bit of damage to either one of the parties. That's going to be the last thing he wants, as we see once again getting a very poor exit out the loop, just trying to get the power down a little bit too early, has a little bit of wheel spin, and now Scarenzi's doing everything he can, deploying the battery, trying to get the slipstream to get a little bit of overspeed, heading down into Brooklands, but he's not able to even gain on the Alfa Romeo car. So I'm not sure what things Rabban is running, but whatever they are, they're clearly working out for him in the straight.
Yeah, they're interesting, whatever they are. They're not working. They work well in qualifying, but maybe not doing so well in these wet conditions. Maybe didn't foresee it. Maybe he thought it could dry up at the end. We're not too sure, but we're nearly halfway through here in Silverstone. Paco's away. We've got this train in behind, don't we? We've got this secondary train of 4 cars. AJ Mackey's at the back, and that sim race is trying to recover through it, because he's dropped a long way off the back of the top 3, isn't he?
Yeah, but we know the true pace that sim racer has. We know he's going to be able to catch back up to the likes of Craggy's. That 5.6 second gap between Craggy's and Scarenzi is an almighty gap. But if there's going to be a few drivers on this grid who'll be able to do it, you would have to consider it be one of our championship protagonists. The likes of Scarenzi, Rabban, That's SimRacer or Paco to really be able to try and close it up. And somewhat continue of a little bit of a running theme we have here, as we will see Nando also having a little bit of a squabble there with AJ Mackey getting shown the long way around the outside, as this battle for P2 still raging on, but it is slightly more tame. I'm going to be very interested in seeing how Rabin decides to start approaching the loop here. Surely he's just going to be more delicate on the throttle input.
I mean, you'd think that'd be the strategy here, but you never do really know, do you?
No,
I mean,
he's lost 2
using
tenths already.
Scarenzi's running. Yes, Scarenzi's low on ERS though. Look at that. I mean, he's what, a third of a store. It's not particularly healthy. So
Oh,
and
Rabin's
then you
almost
see just
full.
there, Rabin's got a lot.
There you
Yeah,
go.
so advantage Rabin in that regard. And Rabin just does look like he's got a little bit more in the hand. You know, it's difficult to say at this point, isn't it? When we're only halfway through, Paco's gone. You'd think in this race they should be able to get to the end on these wets, but we never know about another safety car as well. I mean, you can't really call this with the 2 championship rivals a quarter of a second apart, 13 laps in full wet conditions. This really could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you sit there and your mind starts wondering about what could happen, what could change. There's so many different variables. You know, it's, around Silverstone alone there's enough variables, let alone adding thunderstorm weather to the mix, adding, you know, the championship, the stress, the pressure that these drivers are going to be feeling at the minute. It all somewhat adds up, but these are what the drivers are here for. They understand what they signed up for. They understand they're going to be in with a chance to secure themselves a championship here at PRL. And they know it's going to be down to the very quick, well, the quickest driver out of the 2. But again,
I mean, we could be. But
go on.
I mean, I was going to say this could come down to Stowe on the last lap of the last race of the last season on this game.
You know, Darragh has a saying. Can they do it on a Tuesday night, raining cats and dogs in Stowe? We've made it.
It's good that.
We've made it. I couldn't exactly use the official one because there was some volatile words. And also, well, not exactly in Stoke. But it'll be very key to see what's going to happen here. Whether we're going to have our own Peter Crouch or maybe our own, well, Charlie Adams. I know who I prefer to be.
I didn't have Charlie Adam on my PRL bingo this evening, but if you did at home, well
Congratulations.
Done.
Next number, Joe Allen. We've also got Bojan.
Let's go through all of them. Quick peek. But I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it, really, at this stage?
Yes.
To really call this. I just see someone in the YouTube chat cheering on Scarenzi. Says Scarenzi's got his fans. In the Twitch chat, Craggy's saying that he's representing Tier 2. I mean, yeah, this is an exciting race. This really is one that we're kind of waiting for it to explode, really, aren't we? As Paco comes back into the pit lane for an Inter, I think that's early, if I'm honest, but it suggests that maybe the track might transition.
I feel like that's very, very, very early. I'm not too sure of the reason behind that, but if Paco's feeling something out there on the circuit, giving him a little bit more grip, if he feels confident enough, to hell with my weather app, right? Doesn't matter. As long as he feels comfortable, as long as he's able to make the lap times work, by all means, go for a set of intermediates. It's going to be a great test here, as he's going to be out towards the back of a pack with Vintage AR5. A pass you would expect him to make relatively quickly, and by the looks of it, those intermediate tyres certainly starting to grip up lovely. He's got such a better exit in comparison to Vintage. I think it might be time, Darragh. I think it might be time, but we do have Rabin and Scarenzi still gearbox to front wing with one another. Well, I'm not sure how this is going to go.
Well, if we have a quick look at the gap to leader between Rabin and Paco, we'll see 21.9, 21.8. That is coming down, isn't it? Let's see it through Maggots and Beckett's, of course. Scarenzi and Rabin will make their decision beforehand. Oh, and they're both coming in. Rabin went very late. But the two championship protagonists, they come in together. Paco will surely retake the lead here because he's a lot quicker on those wet tyres. That sim racer staying out. But Rabin and Scorenzi, they are not going to be separated on track for love nor money.
No, they're sticking with it. And to be quite honest, I have to completely agree with Scorenzi's idea here. Whatever Rabin does, match it. You seem to have the pace. You seem to have a more friendly setup towards the tyres. You've just got to find that position. You've just got to make it work out on circuit. It's a lot easier to say than it is to do. But we know Scorenzi's quality. We know his calibre. He will be able to find an overtake if one appears itself. And with a slide coming out the pit lane already for Rabin, showing maybe he's slightly anticipated this circuit to be a little drier than what it currently is at the moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone with that sim racer has decided to come in to the box. But with 11 laps to go, Rab and Scorenzi, there is just nothing between them. There's nothing to pick apart between them. And it's just one of those things, you know, they're not making move after move on each other, but being this close together means there's always that possibility, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're very much somewhat showing an ultimate sign of respect, where, you know, Rabin isn't necessarily trying to defend from Scorenzi. If anything, he might want Scorenzi to overtake so he can just sit behind, manage his fuel a little bit more, while Scorenzi thinks Rabin's quick enough for him to not warrant necessarily wanting to get the overtake. He's more than happy just to sit behind, follow in suit, use for slipstream, try and save a little bit more ERS with a little bit more brake drag, and try and save a little bit more fuel as well. But I feel like we should just be banned from saying anything nice about these drivers, to be honest, Darragh.
Why's that?
Because Rabin has just picked himself up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting.
I wanted you to say it just to rub the salt into the wound there.
Now, if you're Scorenzi, do you even bother trying to overtake, or do you just scroll round with a championship on a technicality? Because either way, winning a championship is still winning a championship, regardless of how it's done, if you get what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in this position, there's no point trying to make the move because he's going to win the title. There's no point risking it and throwing it away. So you might as well just sit in behind and wait and just take it on the penalties come the end of the race. But it's not going to be as easy as that, I don't think, because the yellow flag of back into Retto, I think that's spinning around. Virtual safety car has been deployed, 9.5 laps to go in this race.
Oh, 9 laps to go. So Rabin is forced with this unique situation, this challenging situation he finds himself in. Does he go a little silly, a little crazy, and take some very different lines to try and force Scorenzi into making a mistake with his own racing lines, or does he just try and bolt it as soon as he can? Because with the pace Scorenzi's shown, he's able to keep pace with Rabin. But he's also shown that he's not necessarily been looking to try and get an overtake. So if Rabin backs off and starts playing around a little bit too much, trying to disrupt somewhat of the racing line of Scorenzi, trying to force him out wide to make himself pick up a couple of warnings, who says Scorenzi's even going to try and race with that? He can very easily just back off by a second, hold it onto himself, and slowly start running him towards the end of the race. I'm not sure which way this is going to go, but we are seeing penalties galore at the minute.
But there's just not any need for Scorenzi to panic, is there, realistically?
No.
Because he's got this under control now. It's the same situation Rabin was in. He just doesn't want to go wide. He doesn't need to make any kind of mistake. He doesn't need to, pressure himself to go wide to just keep inside that, maybe that extra half a tenth. He doesn't need that. He's okay where he is now with 9 laps of this race to go. Not sure how many warnings he's got himself, but, I mean, you'd want to take it on track because you don't know if you yourself are going to get a penalty, but if you just are confident enough in keeping it within the white lines, there's no need to worry, really, is there?
No, and that adds into a whole different dynamic of, is there a chance the penalty could be removed for Rabin? Surely Scorenzi's going to have to be thinking in the good graces that everything will be alright, everything's going to go the same way, and everything's going to be okay. So I do believe we've got our lobby host there, AJ Mackey, retiring from the session. Again, one of the brilliant people here at PRL who's able to put it on and give us this entertaining battle and this show. But you will see Scarenzi lifting there, deliberately not looking for the overtake. The mind games have started, Darragh.
And they're only going to end at the checkered flag, I think, because
And this is Scarenzi's to lose. Rabin is under pressure. He needs to pull. He needs to make that gap 3 seconds, and he's not doing it at the moment. So for now, Scarenzi can just taunt Rabin, really. Just play around with him, because Rabin is the driver that needs to pull. I mean, he's in front, but he's not, psychologically. So, difficult, isn't it? It's really, really difficult in this situation for him. But he's just got to try and find a way to pull the gap, or maybe try and fight with Scarenzi to get him a penalty. That's the only way that this is going to happen for Rabin.
You know, it's in times of struggle, right, where I look to my heroes, you know, the likes of Schumacher, the likes of Lance Stroll, and I feel like, what do they have in common? When it really came down to the nitty-gritty, they were willing to do anything.
Wait, sorry, did you just say Lance Stroll there?
Yeah, yes, I did. They were willing to do anything in order to win the world title, beat your teammate for P12, whatever it was, they were willing to do it. Whether that's playing a little bit of bowling, whether that's hitting the car in an incorrect place, according to Martin Brundle. To me, I thought it was a quite good shot, to be quite honest. But, you know, perhaps it could be time for maybe a little bit of Rabin's Dark Arts School. Seeing his best Voldemort impression, to see if he's able to magic anything up here. Or perhaps just try and put Scarenzi into a bit more of a vulnerable position. Because at the same time, yes, we don't like to see it, but it is very much part of motorsports. And if you're not trying to push the limits, are you really considering yourself as a driver willing to risk it all out there?
I mean, that's the crux of it. I mean, these two have they've driven a fantastic season, both of them, in their own way. Of course, like I said, between them 4 wins out of 9 so far. Couple that with another 4 podiums each, so they've each been on the podium 6 times coming into this race out of 9 races. That's an incredible ratio of 2 to 3. As it stands, they'd be very comfortably making it 7 each. It would be Rabin's 3rd, 2nd, Scarenzi's 2nd, 3rd. They'd actually end the season, or if Rabin didn't have a penalty right now, with the same wins, the same 2nd places, and the same 3rds.
Yeah.
That's how tight they've been this season. That's how good this championship has been. But as it stands, somewhat disappointingly, you might say, it's currently coming down to the penalties.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Where, you know, you can't exactly let the drivers try to escape and pull away with exceeding track limits to try and gain an advantage. But again, it's not exactly how you want a championship decided, right? It feels a little manufactured. It feels a little bit I don't want to use the term undeserved, but it feels anticlimactic, I will say. Because both of these drivers deserve a championship, to be quite honest with you, because both of them have been tremendous over the course of the season. It does just very much feel a little underwhelming, I'll say. That's the word I was looking for Rabin, knowing that regardless of whatever he tries to do now, unless he does some, you know, miraculous brake checking for a bit of, you know, imaginary DRS chicken in the wet here, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to be able to somewhat even fathom himself winning the title. And that can be a very hard pill to swallow for the Alfa Romeo driver.
I think what Rabin needs to do here is to fight Scarenzi. Because Scarenzi then can be pushed into a mistake, possibly going wide somewhere, picking up a warning, picking up a penalty. That's realistically the only way he's going to win this. So he's got to go backwards to go forwards.
Very much so.
In the end. I mean, that's what he's going to have to employ. Otherwise, he's just going to be driving his way round, looking behind him, thinking, oh, for God's sake, he's going to be in front of me on the end of this one. So he's just got to try and find a way to make him work for it, make him push the car, maybe just make him put him offline, force him into a mistake, anything, because otherwise Scarenzi's going to cruise home for this one.
Absolutely, and you know, we say that Paco, he's certainly pulled away, hasn't he? And Rabin and Scarenzi, they're still opening up the distance more and more to that sim racer. There was a moment in time I thought that sim racer under the VSC, putting on a brand new fresh set of intermediate tyres, coming out in P4, 10 seconds off of the back of Scarenzi. I was thinking, okay, perhaps that sim race can catch up to these guys. Try and be a little bit thorn in the side. Try and force Scarenzi into, a couple of mistakes, a couple of overtakes. But that's not the way it's gone. We're currently on lap 21. 14 seconds between P3 and P4. Scarenzi, at this moment, you might as well give him a pina colada. He looks that chill out there.
He does. I mean, at this point in the race, everyone looks pretty chill. If you're not Rabin or Scarenzi, because Paco's 7 seconds in the lead. That's in Racer. He's got miles between himself and anybody else. Vintage is, again, on his own, same with Kraken and Directo. So, realistically, the only people that are in any kind of stress or pressure are Rabin and Scarenzi right now, because they can't afford to make mistakes, either of them. But they've only got 5 laps to go when they cross the line, and realistically, it's a flapper to decide the title here.
Yeah, very much so. It's somewhat... I don't want to say it's going to come down to a steward's decision to remove a penalty, but I do think that is what Rabin is hoping for. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to understand the reason why he's not at least tried to back Scarenzi up into the likes of that sim racer, or as you mentioned before, just disrupting his line, just forcing him off the racing line, get a little bit more wear in the tyres, hoping for mistakes to creep in, because surely that would be one of your starting... pivot points to start deciding what sort of decisions you want to make about trying to hold on to a P2 with the penalty. So, with that being considered, do we think Scarenzi is going to be willing to risk it to make sure he gets it on paper as well as on a technicality, just in case those 3 seconds look to be removed for Rabin's behalf?
I think if you are Scarenzi, you want to finish P2 on track. In terms of, you want to ensure that it's yours.
Yes.
You don't want to leave it, up for discussion. You don't want to possibly leave it in the hands of the stewards. You want to make sure that it's yours. No one can take it away. Thank you for turning up. Thank you for racing with me. I'm the champion. You don't want to give Rabin that element of hope, but at the same time, you don't want to go for the move in a way that will give you a mistake, because you don't need to make the move. You just like to make it. It'd be convenient for you. It's not necessary.
Yes.
So, if you are Scarenzi, I think you're going to sit in behind. But unless the opportunity presents itself, which you might go for it. But you're not going to be in any rush, are you?
See, I don't know. It very much comes down to how confident Scarenzi is. Whether he's got an engineer working with him who's been able to pick up the exact timestamps where Rabin's picked up his warnings to make sure that he doesn't pick up a double warning, and there's no chance of him being able to get a penalty, a warning removed, which would in turn, provoke his penalty. Whether Scarenzi's got that on hand and he knows that the penalty's not going to be removed, he's cruising behind, or whether he's somewhat taking a bit of a risk, a bit of a gamble, by not trying to get this overtake. But then again, it's very much double-edged sword, isn't it? Do you risk it on track, trying to get the overtake, potentially losing more time, potentially picking up a penalty yourself, potentially picking up damage? Or do you leave it in the hands of the stewards? Because either way, both are very risky, and somewhat, to an extent, both of them are out of your control, as you do see Rabin there taking a slightly wider line through the exit of Cops. Surely, if Scarenzi is going to get any sort of opportunity, it would have been through there. Heading out of Woodcut into Cops, because here you see Rabin deploying a little bit more battery.
Maybe we could try and take a peek at the race directive just to see if Rabin has any more warnings on top of the ones he's already got. So let's have a look. Where is Rabin? There's nothing on there yet, is there?
Lap 13?
There, the Australian. There's one on lap 13. Another on lap 15. And 16.
Right, no hope of getting that one removed. That won't be any double warning. He's got 3 slam dunk ones at 3 different laps.
Yeah, it's unlikely. I mean, if he picked up one more as well, it'd be 9 impossible.
Yes.
So he's got to be careful. But, I mean, it's tight, isn't it? It's tense. 3 laps to go. That's in race of 3 seconds as well.
I thought that was Scarenzi then getting a 3 second. I was like, well, okay, here we go.
This comes down to a knife edge, doesn't it? Really?
Yes. It certainly has. It's going to be more of... It's less of a race. It's less of a chess battle now. It's more of a ballerina act. Which ones can float their car across this surface delicately enough to not pick up a penalty?
Yeah, it's a confusing one, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it would be a straight fight if Rab didn't have that penalty, but Scorenzi's just there. He exists. He's not doing anything right necessarily. He's just not doing anything wrong. He's just sitting there behind Rabin, waiting for the end of the race.
He's in championship purgatory at the minute, isn't he? He's just having to wait it out.
Yeah.
He's more than happy to do so. He's not committed any devious sins to send him to championship hell. He's also not been exactly a saint. He's just been Scorenzi in the slap bang middle, doing exactly what he needs to do. Currently looking to be able to pick up the championship down to a penalty. And in a weird way, how fitting would it be for PRL Tier 1 to come down to a driver receiving a penalty to decide the championship, because they have been so close on track all season long. To me, it'd be somewhat fitting.
Yeah, just cross the line together, you two. It'd be great.
Hold hands.
In formation. Yeah, hold hands. Get out the cars. They could genuinely stop the cars, jump out, hold hands across the line, because that sim race is 40 seconds behind. Probably is genuinely possible. That sim race, the 34.9 fastest lap. He's gone faster on his fresh set of inters, hoping to pick up that 1 point for that. But we're into the final lap and a half now, aren't we? And
yes.
Scorenzi, he's just sitting there. I mean, there's really not much more to add, is there? Because we've had this situation for the last 10 laps. Rabin's just been he's been the one in purgatory. Because he's not really done anything wrong apart from pick up that penalty. He's had the good pace. Scorenzi's had good pace as well. They've not had the pace of Paco. They've just not been challenged. It's just kind of been a bit of a rinse and repeat.
Exactly. They've somewhat just been, bobbing their head, listening to the music, going to the beat of their own drum. But, meanwhile, Rabin, Scorenzi, very much the opposite. They've been going to each other's drum. They've been trying to, want to match each other every which way possible. The only somewhat thing they haven't matched each other in is exceeding the track limits. And for Scorenzi's sake, he's done a fantastic job to keep it well within the track limits. The last thing he wants to do now is push a little bit extra and risk himself picking up a warning, which could jeopardise this entire championship for him. So at the minute, he's going to be looking just to hold back, stay behind Rabin, not push the car, stay well within the white lines, and minimise the overall risk in every opportunity possible.
What have we got now? Half of a lap to go here at Silverstone. A driver of the day quickly before we get towards the final sector. Josh?
Paco. He's, championship aside here, he's been by far clearing away the best driver. Started from the back, started from P2, fell all the way to the back, claimed his way all the way back up into P1, had the, intuition to be able to set it over to intermediate tyres before the rest of the field. Worked out brilliantly. For me, clear driver of the day. There's a reason he's leading his race by 8.5 seconds. It's not just down to pace, it's down to the brains as well.
I couldn't have put it better myself. He will come round Stowe. And the final couple of corners of this season on this game here in PRL. Season 12 has been a blast. I think it's fair to say 10 high-quality rounds of great racing. Paco will win the finale at Silverstone, but as they come round the final few corners, Vale and Club, Rabin and Scorenzi have shared a fantastic championship battle. It's come down to a penalty, but Scorenzi will take the title in PRL Season 12 Division 1 by just a meagre 4 points in the end. Incredibly close. Couldn't really be much closer than that. In the end, if Rabin didn't pick up a penalty, would have been 0.3 of a second that split the top and the bottom. But Scorenzi, he's your champion. Haas are the Constructors' Championships. They take a double championship from Season 12. And roll on Season 13, Josh, because this has been an absolute cracker.
Yes, as long as we're able to keep the momentum going into the next F1 title, it looks like it's going to be a very bright future, especially for Scorenzi. We mentioned it all throughout the broadcast. The consistency these drivers have shown has been on a whole nother level. But for Scorenzi, especially, every single time he stepped into a car, he's looked phenomenal. Sometimes you compare different drivers from different generations. there's only really a handful of drivers which every single time they step foot into a car, it looks like they're able to work their magic. It looks like they're able to do something phenomenal. You think about a time, you know, like Graham Hill, like Senna. Every time they went into a car, they were able to pull something out. They were able to make something work. And Scarenzi very much being PRL's own little miniature version of an Ayrton Senna or a Graham Hill, being able to maximise everything possible out of a car. And certainly maximise everything possible out of a championship. There's a reason he's able to lift a trophy as the driver as Paco levitates. Okay, PRL's haunted. Cool, great. There we go.
And fittingly, Dua Lipa has released a new album this week.
Oh.
Sorry, I just thought I'd put that one in there, only because... No. Yeah, if that doesn't say a few things, then I don't know what... Anyway, right then, there's our top 3 in the title battle. Of course, that's eRacing will finish P4 in the end. But that's it. Paco, sorry.
Where's the baby? Oh.
Paco first. Scarenzi will finish second, but he will pick up the title. Rabin, in the end, P3, 4 points back in the end. That's him. Racer picks up 13 points in the season finale. It will be Tintoretto with points for P5 after he finished behind the reserves of Vintage and Craggy, so he finishes on 37 points. And AJ Mackey, he didn't find the flag. He will finish on 59. So only in the end. I think that's 5 drivers scoring points in this race. Incredible stuff. You look back for the non-finishers of Fernanda, AJ Mackey, Debo, Rapicon, Oliver James. It was a race of attrition, but a race of victory and celebration for Scarenzi and for Paco. I'm going to take a quick peek and see that no one is in that podium interviews channel just yet. I expect that a couple of them might drop in. I'd hope.
Maybe. We know they can be a little bit shy sometimes, though, don't we?
I'll just put in a quick little message in the chat. Scarenzi, Rabin, anyone fancy an interview?
Oh, that's interesting.
And we'll give them a couple of minutes. But,
I
what
mean,
a season it's been, Josh.
Yes, it's been utterly fantastic. It's been very entertaining. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stick it all the way through here at Tier 1 throughout the duration of the season. But I have very much enjoyed the opportunities, to come here. Join yourself, Darragh, and commentate on these fantastic drivers we've got here at PRL in Tier 1. It's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, especially when Rabin says, I made a mistake with the setups. I had 0 downforce. Which, if that's true, 0 Wings, he did a phenomenal job to somewhat keep it on the track pointing in the right direction, let alone be able to come away with a very impressive overall P3 and resorting himself to P2 in the championship.
I doubt he had 0 wings.
I mean,
you
never know.
A little bit...
Let me believe
Yeah,
Darragh,
I mean,
come
that's
on.
true. I mean, I doubt he had 0 wings. I think that'd be slightly skinny, if I'm honest. But I do notice Scarenzi has dropped himself from the podium interview channel. I think we're going to have to go talk to our champion.
Absolutely. I mean, it's only fair, but as one of your favourite artists of all time, there's only one clear pun to be able to make about this situation. It's going to be back to training season for a couple of these drivers, but let's hop over
I was
towards.
going to say Scarenzi has been the one. I thought that's what you were going to go for. I can't lie. You're going to hear in the next couple of minutes, if people are still listening, I've written down a list. See if you can spot them. Let's go talk to Scarenzi.
Don't start now. Right. Right, let's hop over.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Scarenzi. I mean, first of all, congratulations, champion. How does it feel?
Oh man, it feels like a big weight lifted off my shoulders for sure. It's been a very up and down season, but finally managed to make it all work in the end. Yeah, that was not an easy race for sure.
I mean, overall, over the season, with that P2, you've picked up 2 wins, 4 seconds, and a third, 7 podiums in 10 races, some incredible consistency. I mean, this championship battle between you and Rabin has been excellent as well. Have you ever felt comfortable in the championship, even up until the last lap, or was there always that element of risk and you didn't know whether you were going to be able to get to beat Rabin for the title?
Well, throughout the season, I knew that I was gonna have um some decent finishes. S just because of the calendar that we had, I knew that there were some strong tracks for me, and I had to try to make the most of, there, points wise. Um, Unfortunately, I had the DNF at Netherlands, which that kind of put a big dent in the championship, and then I kind of had to just keep at it, try to consistently score points, good finishes. Um, and yeah, I mean, in the end, it it worked out. But as far as the race itself, yeah, I didn't know. Quali, as I mentioned in the chat, I went with a full setup or wet setup, sorry. In quali versus everybody else, I thought some guys were gonna maybe try to go for dry setups as well and just see what they can make do in the race. But from there, once we got on the race, the car felt good. It felt really, really good. Um, I was able to make up some decent positions on lap one at the start, which was pretty scary as well, just because I didn't want to get caught up in anything or anything like that. Managed to keep it clean. And then yeah, once I got up to Rabin, I was like, okay, I was trying to work on him, trying to figure out where I can line something up, but man, that dude just had a rocket ship in his car. I couldn't do anything on straights, so that was a bit tough. But he got the penalty, and I knew from there that okay, I can just stay with him. I can just not push as hard, not maybe try to force him into getting a second penalty or just a little mistake here and there. But yeah, I wasn't able to beat him on track, but still though managed to get the position thanks to the penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as things go here at PRL, within these walls here, is there anything left for you to do? Are you looking to come back, defend the title yet again? Continue this reign of somewhat dominance, trying to move into the new title? Or is this going to be somewhat of a mirage, somewhat of a Houdini? You show up, you grab the win, off to, the next league or whatever. Are you looking to stay here and defend? Or are you looking to try and set some new rules for this place and really try and get a ground level sorted so you can really try and push your limits?
I mean, first and foremost, I want to say, I have had one of the most fun, hectic roller coaster rides of a season in this league. Some great competition with some of these guys that I've had battles with and I had the pleasure of battling with. Um, a lot of these guys here have shown great pace, even if they might not be consistently front runners or whatever. But on their day, they have what it takes. So it's definitely not an easy task to just come here, dominate or whatever, unless you're Paco, right? I mean, but I mean that dude has nutty pace for sure. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I kind of just want to enjoy this moment. I want to just relax, um, and just kind of see what options are there. I mean, obviously, the next season is going to be on a brand new game, so it's kind of a level playing field for everybody again. Get up to speed and see who adapts, the quickest. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure, but still, I just want to say congratulations as well to Rabin. He put up one hell of a championship fight up until the very, very end, and as well as everybody else that I had the pleasure of sharing the track with.
Absolutely. I mean, as far as it stands for me, we're good with that. Certainly electric performance over the course of the season, but have you got anything else left to say, Darragh?
I just congratulations really to you, Scorenzi. A great championship battle all the way through. You're not hallucinating. That's not an illusion. You are the title winner here in PRL Season 12. It's been a physical season. We've had lots of incident, lots of great racing, but I'm sure we'll be back in Season 13. Don't forget, tomorrow night we'll have the the Division 2 finale around Silverstone as well, and we'll see what kind of position changes can be done in that one, but that's going to be 24 hours away. Between now and then, I'm sure Scorenzi will be dancing the night away. We'll see you tomorrow night in PRL. Thanks for everyone who's watched. Thanks to everyone who has commented along as well. We'll see you tomorrow night for the Division 2 finale of PRL Season 12.